If you think about it, most of what we do on a daily basis is something that was taught to us, or we do because it's some kind of cultural norm that just everyone else is doing. That's everything from brushing your teeth to what kind of clothes you wear to what language you speak. Cultures, traditions, brushing your teeth can be a beautiful thing. Participating in the same thing as the people around you can make you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, like you're part of a community. And as social creatures, that's kind of a big deal. It's literally in our blood and DNA to want to fit in and be accepted by the people around us. Throughout evolution and history, we have been herd animals, social creatures. We move in groups. And for whatever reason, if you decided to leave a group or worse, was banished from a group, your tribe, that was basically a death sentence. So it's really easy and actually in our nature to conform to the status quo and follow a group think. But sometimes it's to the point where we lose our authenticity and individuality. It can be silly to think about, but like a lot of what we do, like walking, for example, why do we walk instead of, I don't know, like roll around like a ball or something? Why do we shake hands? Like why not just fist bump or I don't know, like awkwardly touch each other's hips? Why do we smile when we like something? I don't know, why don't we like touch our head or something? So much of what we do is just second nature in our DNA. It's how we evolved, or it's something we were taught, or it's something that everyone around us just does, and because of that, we just do. It's not like you chose to do those things. So imagine all the things about your personality, the way you think, what you want out of life that you're kind of just doing because that's just how it's done mentality, instead of actually thinking critically about it and seeing if it's actually something you want to do and you're choosing to do, or if you're just adhering to the status quo and history and what you've known and what's been done before. People who choose to be wildly different from the norm because they want to be true to themselves are really inspiring to me because they're really bold and brave. Because they prioritize being really authentic to who they are, even if it makes them look like a freaking weirdo. Taking the time to really think about what you do and why you do it, and if that's really authentically you, and leaning into what makes you different and exploring that is so important. Also, if you do that work and you find out that you're maybe not that different from the people around you genuinely, and you like Justin Bieber pop music, or like wearing Uggs in the wintertime, or drinking vanilla lattes, and maybe there's nothing extra funky about you that separates you from the group. If that's really who you are, then that is bold too, being you. If you watched my video on why I don't have a dream job, I'll link it up here. It's kind of a similar thought. If you want to graduate high school, then graduate college, then get a 9-to-5, then climb a corporate ladder and get married and have kids and retire at 65, and live this very linear, traditional path in life, then that's fine. If that's really what you want to do, that's perfect. But make sure that's exactly what you want to be doing, and you're doing it intentionally, and not just because you think, oh, that's just the next step in life is to get married, or that's just the next step is to get a 9-to-5 job. Like, no, it's really not. And I see personalities and the way we think like that too. And in 1962, someone by the name of Solomon Asch was really interested in the psychology of conformity. In 1962, he created the elevator groupthink experiments. He basically planted a bunch of people in an elevator, but had them do something really weird. He had them face the opposite way, so away from the doors, which is clearly very odd, nonsensical, and just as strange. But he wanted to see what a non-actor, regular person would do if they walked into an elevator and saw everyone facing the other way. Weirdly enough, every time someone walked into that elevator, they would also just kind of turn around and face the other way, even though they knew that made no sense. They kind of just went with it because that's what everyone else is doing. The experiment shows the extent to which we want to be accepted. It shows us that even though the people around us, our culture, our environment is doing something really crazy, nonsensical, we'll still conform to something crazy just for the sake of fitting in and not being the different one. So the idea of succumbing to groupthink or following culture norms, like I said, can be really beautiful, like, following a tradition. But there are three main ways that I think it can be really harmful. The first thing is following a traditional life path for the sake of being accepted by your family, the people around you, your culture, instead of following a path that's maybe different but true to yourself. The second thing is seeking external validation so much to the point where you become unhappy if you don't have it. And the third is following a groupthink concept that just doesn't make sense for you as an individual. So here's an example of the first one, which is blindly following a certain path for everyone's acceptance instead of rethinking it and intentionally doing something that is true to yourself. An example of that would be someone's career, their job. When I graduated college a few years ago, I thought I wanted to be like the CEO of this and the director of this and have this title and win this award. And when I think about it, I didn't actually want those things. I wanted what people would think of me if I had those things. I realized that I wanted to be what people defined as successful so that they thought I was impressive or smart or rich or special. Or when I dug deep and really asked myself, why do I want these titles? It wasn't because so that I could do all of the paperwork or whatever CEOs do. It was for the social status that comes with saying you're a CEO or having that title on your LinkedIn. And I'm not going to typecast and say that everyone who's a CEO is actually secretly miserable and they're just doing it for clout. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of business leaders who love what they do and are doing it authentically. But I think a lot of people are graduating college and becoming Wall Street brokers and doctors and lawyers and engineers because they want to impress their friends and not disappoint their family. We all struggle with this in some kind of way in our life, but taking a job or a career or life path that, it looks good to other people but is not what's truly authentic to you will breed a lot of stress and anxiety or exhaustion from acting like it's what you want, or resentment even to people who are actually following their dreams. And when it comes to my career, that's why I've done like a 180 in the past few years and really stepped away from the idea of climbing a corporate ladder. Like, I used to be obsessed with that, and now I have no desire to do that anymore because I realized it's not actually my definition of success at all. It's what everyone around me's definition of success is, and that's fine, that's cool for them, but it's not for me. Society places a lot of value on STEM careers like, science and medicine and technology and engineering. If you're not that, it can be seen as less valuable or less successful, which is really hard for a lot of people who aren't into that. But we don't place a lot of value on genuine authenticity and happiness, even if that looks like, being a farmer and just chilling with your cows in the middle of nowhere and not having a certain title. That might be like the happiest dude in the world who's living his true life. But we'll still see someone like Elon Musk or, Bill Gates as more successful and valuable. The second type of way that I see conforming to our culture can be really toxic is very apparent to me in social media. A lot of people feel the need to keep up with posting on Instagram so that everyone can see how amazing their vacation is or how great their relationship is. I'll speak for myself. A lot of times I found myself posting, vacations or birthdays or, my outfits so that I could get acceptance, so that people could see how awesome I was and be impressed by me, not just for the sake of keeping my friends updated about my life. It was to impress people. And I totally get that not everyone posts for clout or validation, and that you can really just post for the sake of connecting with people and keeping your friends updated about your life. But I don't think that's a lot of people. I think it's really important to understand and question why you post on Instagram and ask yourself questions like, would you still be just as happy if you got 0 likes? Or, if no one commented, slay queen, would you still feel just as fulfilled? I think I'm trying to get to a level of confidence where I just don't rely on society's acceptance anymore, where I don't feel the need to show the world what I already know about myself. Like, I know that I have brown skin and dark hair. Like, I don't feel the need to walk around on a highway with a poster saying that I have brown skin and dark hair because, I know that I have that. I don't feel the need to share it, like, and tell people. Everyone knows that. I know that. Again, this is just my way of thinking, but that's why I don't, like, you know, post my wins on Instagram anymore, because I feel like I know how awesome my vacation is. I was there. You hear a lot of people say, you know, oh, if you didn't post it, did it really happen? And yeah, that's funny. But it's actually kind of toxic because it makes you feel like your life, what you do, your wins, your awesome vacations aren't valuable unless they are seen and validated by other people, which is just not true. Your life doesn't exist just when other people are watching. Like, the things you do are still valuable even when no one knows about it. And moving on, the third example of how following groupthink blindly can be really harmful is marriage. Okay, I feel like I might hurt some feelings here. So this is not for the sensitive. Throughout my whole life, I've always heard people say things like, I need to be engaged by 25. Or, you know, the idea of, if he doesn't propose to you after 2 years of being together, you need to leave. If you have a really personal, authentic reason as to why you need to be engaged by exactly 25, if that makes sense to you and it's logical to you, then go for it. But I think if you ask a lot of people why they need to be engaged by this number or married by this number, a lot of people don't actually have an answer. They'll be like, oh, because you just have to, that's just the way things are, or because it's weird to get married in your 30s, or like something that's clearly society's thinking and not their own thinking. Your life does not need to be dictated by one-size-fits-all rules like that. You should be able to be with someone for 10 years without getting married, or never get married at all and not have people give you weird looks for that. Okay, so at this point in the video, I think we can all fairly say that we've been indoctrinated by society's thinking or culture norms or what we've been taught at some point in some way in our lives. Right? Okay, so what do we do about that? Rethink everything. Every time you find yourself thinking in the same way as everyone else around you, following a mob mentality, or, you know, doing things that are very traditional, just take a step back and question why you're doing it and make sure you can come up with valid reasons that make sense to you and that your answer isn't just because, oh, I'm doing it because that's just what's done. And it's really hard to do this because you're basically fighting against your DNA and nature to fit in. If you want to make sure you're living for yourself, you have to put yourself in different situations that you're not used to, that might be uncomfortable, but just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that you're exploring and testing yourself. Be weird and do things that are out of the norm for you and your culture and just see how you react, because you might like it. That can be something as small as, you know, dancing in public, or as big as quitting your law firm job and becoming an artist. Number 2 is don't rely on external validation. It's totally normal to want your family and friends to be proud of you or to feel recognized for doing something, but make sure it's not your only source of validation. Distance yourself from people who are judgmental or people who really care about looking a certain type of way or succumbing to a certain type of groupthink idea, because being around those kinds of people make it really hard to just feel free to try different things and taste test your personality and see who you really are. Find people who appreciate you testing the waters with different versions of yourself or different personalities, different interests, and not think you're weird for that. And appreciate the parts of yourself that are unique and quirky. Oh my gosh, the sun is setting. I have to wrap this up. Number 3 is be okay with changing over and over and over again. Part of the problem of not being true to yourself is people get really attached to a certain box or trope that they put themselves in, a version of themselves, an identity, and they feel weird to break out of that. Let's say they're a lawyer. They see themselves as a really uptight professional who speaks in a certain kind of way and holds themselves in a certain manner. And maybe that same person loves DJing or making dance TikToks, but they don't let themselves do that because that's not part of the box of what a lawyer looks like. That's not the identity of what a lawyer would do. When you feel the urge to explore something, even if it's weird, even if it's totally random and it's not something you align your identity with, that's probably a cue that you should do it even more. Our personalities don't live in boxes. We are not cookie cutter people. We are complex and nuanced. And the only way to ensure that you're actually being your true, weird, complicated self is to make sure you're questioning everything and not just following along with the traditional status quo cultural norms. Second guess everything and you'll probably be fine. That is all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, I am sure you will enjoy this one. I'll link it up here. And if you found any value in this, it would mean a lot to me and it would really support my channel if you liked, commented, and subscribed. And don't forget to question everything, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.